Hi, welcome to Drawing Club. Today we're drawing Phil the Frogfish Man. So this is Phil the Frogfish, and to draw Phil you will need a pencil, an eraser to erase any mistakes, maybe a pencil sharpener, and you'll need a black marker or a black pencil crayon to outline him with when you're done, and maybe some markers or some pencil crayons to color him into. But as usual, I'm going to use a gray marker to draw with just so you can see what I'm doing. And I've had to switch gray marker today because my old one was running out. Okay, so we'll start Phil the Frogfish with a circle for his head. Just like that. And then 2 more circles for his eyes. And circles inside those circles. One there. And one there. He's got these kind of frog eyes. And then smaller circles inside those, like this, and one more like this. And remember, if I'm drawing too quickly, you can always pause the video and catch up. So his mouth, he's got these kind of fish lips. So we're going to draw quite kind of like balloony kind of style fish lips here, like this, and then 2 little lines inside the mouth, like that. And then we'll just shade in that part to remind ourselves to color it black at the end. He's also got sort of fins at the side of his head here. So I'm just going to make these lines like this, and then put 2 little lines from the point of each of those fins back into his face, like that. And the same on the other side. Each one of these little wavy lines coming to a point, and then 2 little lines like that. Okay, next he has an umbrella on the top of his head, so I'm going to make another curving line at the top of his head there. Oops. Like that. And then 2 little straight lines coming there. And then I'm going to start drawing that umbrella. So I'm going to start right over here at this side, and I'm just going to bring it over in a bunch of upward kind of bumps, like this. Like that. And then for the top, I'm just going to bring one big sweeping sort of half a circle line. Just like this. And all the way down to there. And there's some water dripping off this umbrella because it's raining quite hard. So I'm just going to put a long drop of water coming off the umbrella there, and a little circular drop dropping off there. I'm going to do the same on the other side of the umbrella because water is hitting the umbrella on both sides and making these big drops fall off, like that. I'll put a little bump at the top where the top of the umbrella is, and I'm going to draw those lines that show each section of the umbrella. So I'm going to bring them always back to that middle little part on the top, these lines. I'm just going to bend them back like that. This one goes almost straight up. And then coming back out of that middle part again. Like that. And then one more going all the way out from the top there to that part there. Okay. There's a little more water dripping on the top of the umbrella, so we'll put a little raindrop there and another raindrop there. And we'll go down to his body now. Okay, so Phil the frogfish has got some sort of little froggy arms. So we'll do that there to show one arm, like that. And then we're going to make these big sort of triangular hands here, like that, almost like you're making a little shovel. And then I can add little webby fingers on, and then just curve those back a little bit to make it more of a frog fin, or a webbed foot, or a webbed hand. And the same on the other side. I'm going to give him his arm like this. And then again, that kind of triangular shovel hand to make the web, and the little circles on the top. And then curve those lines back to make it look more webbed and froggy. And a couple of thin little lines show a vein there in the middle of his hand. Okay. Now he's holding that book, which is keeping nice and dry. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. So I'm just going to draw the parts of the book here. The cover there, and this is the spine of the book here. And the rest of the cover, like this. And trace this around just to show the top of the book there, or the top of the cover, because the cover is quite thick. This is a hardback book. And then the pages of the book, which Phil is keeping nice and dry under that umbrella. There we go. And we'll just put in Phil's frog legs here. Little ankle, a little wrinkle there. And then we'll do the same for that foot. We'll just make it look like one of those flippers you wear when you swim. We'll put circles at the end. And then I'm going to make the webs a little deeper. So just make those shapes come back a little bit more, like that. And we'll do the same on the other side. The knee and the leg, the little wrinkle, and those big flipper feet, the toes, like that. Okay, and then we've just got the bottom there and there. Okay. And he's sitting in a kind of a nice dry spot he's made there. So we're just going to put the ground along here. And then the water is coming in. So I'm just going to make a kind of a rippling, snaky line there. And the same on the other side. Where the water is coming. And then there's little raindrops is the last thing I need to do with my pencil. So he's got little splashes hitting the umbrella, like that, and that. And then there's little splashes down here in the water as well. Like that. And then I'm going to make a couple of little circles just to show where the water is rippling a little bit, where the drop has hit. You don't have to add any of these details, though, if you don't want. And then just a couple of little raindrops falling. And that's all we need to do with our pencil. So I'm going to put away my gray marker and move over to my black outliner marker now. Is this the one I want? Okay. All right. So you might remember if you saw Chompin' Chuck last week, who was our ogre who liked to read books a lot, but unfortunately also liked to eat a lot, and he wasn't treating his book very well. We talked a little bit about, how to take care of books. And so let's talk about Phil the Frogfish here a little bit and think about, what's he doing to make sure that his book is being treated properly. So you might also want to pay attention as I'm tracing over here to which parts I'm tracing. I'm not going to trace the rest of that eye, for example, there. I'm just going to trace that part like that. I'm going to do the same on the other side here too. So Phil the Frogfish is a monster who lives in a town full of frogfish monsters just like him. It's a nice seaside town where it's almost always raining and gray and misty. It's the town's called Innsmouth, and lots of the people who live there are kind of frogfish men, just like Phil here. And Phil every week goes to the library on Gilman Street and asks the librarian, does she have any books she would recommend? And the librarian tells him, Phil, I think you would enjoy this one. I think it's a really exciting pirate story. And so that's what Phil is reading right now. He's reading about Beardy Bill the pirate and one of his adventures. And so when he first went to the librarian told Phil, some of the things that are important to know about taking care of books. And so she, first thing she told him was, he needed to make sure that he always brought his books back on time. Because other people, other kids and other adults who use the library might need the book as well. And so, he needed to make sure that after he was finished with it, after the 2 weeks or the 3 weeks or however long he was supposed to have the book, that he would need to bring it back and return it. Now, of course, sometimes you can renew a book, which means you can take it out for another few weeks if nobody else wants it. And so sometimes this is quite a long book here, The Adventure of Beardy Bill the Pirate. And so Phil has already taken it, he's already renewed it twice because, he hadn't finished reading it. So, and nobody else wanted it, so he was able to take it out again. Another thing that the librarian said was, please don't bend the corners of the pages. Don't fold the corners of the pages. We call that making a dog ear. Some people do that to mark where they've read to, but that really it's not a very good way to treat books. It can annoy other people who are trying to read them because the pages are folded and, not everyone is going to be on the same page of the book, so it will be confusing, and it just makes the book harder to read later on if a bunch of people have folded the pages. So, but that's, Phil would never do that anyway. And plus, it's quite hard for him to do because he's got these little froggy web hands. So folding a page is not easy for him anyway. Another thing, as I said, it is a very damp and rainy place. And, some of the other frogfish men, they're not as careful with books as Phil is. And so the librarian said to him, please tell me if you see anything wrong with any of the books. If you take out a book and you see that a page is torn, or you see that the spine is starting to break and the pages are starting to come out, she said, please tell me about that so that I will I can fix the book, because librarians, they can sometimes do magic with books. They can use glue or tape and other things and put them back together almost as good as new. And my friend Tavis, he works in a used bookshop, and he has showed me sometimes some of the amazing things they can do to help to fix up old books that have been damaged. So, so of course, whenever Phil takes out a book, and if he sees anything that is not perfect about it, he lets the librarian know right away that she should take a look at that book and maybe fix it up if she can. Another thing which she told him about was, never to eat while reading a book. And, that's something that, unfortunately, Chomp and Chuck, who we looked at last time, that was a message that he seemed to forget about, because, he was eating that piece of pizza, and he was getting his greasy fingers all over the book, and sauce was falling out and everything. And so it's really important not to do that, to make sure that your books, you keep your books clean, that you don't get jam or spill sticky juice or soda or something onto the book, and because that can make the pages stick together, which is kind of gross. And also, you can't really read a book if the pages are all sticking together. So but that's okay, because Phil, he listens very carefully to the librarian, because, as I said, he loves books. He would never want to hurt a book. So he would never eat while reading. There we go. And one of the other things that we talked before about, how you should tell the librarian if you see any damage to the book, and how sometimes this part, the spine, can get bent or twisted, and then the pages start to fall out. And so that's another thing that the librarian told to Phil. Just be careful not to be too rough with the book. Don't twist it. Don't bend it open really far when you're reading it, because that can break the spine and make the binding, which is that part that sticks the pages together, make the binding come undone and make the pages fall out. And so Phil, he treats the books very carefully, and he doesn't bend them or twist them. And the last thing that the librarian had said to Phil was, and this is especially important in Innsmouth, where it's almost always raining, it's always misty. She said to him, you have to make sure that you keep the books dry. Don't take them out in the rain. Don't take them out in the snow. Don't leave them on the ground. Don't take them into the bath with you, because that water can get soaked into the pages of the book. And then, I don't know if you've ever seen what that looks like, but the book gets really kind of fat and wrinkly looking, and the pages get stiff, and it's really hard to read the book if it gets water on it. And so Phil, you can see here, he has this special umbrella hat that he had made so that he could read books from the library and keep them nice and dry, so he wouldn't have to worry about getting water on the pages. Although, to be honest, even this is maybe a bit dangerous, taking it out into the rain like this. Probably would be better if he was to have just stayed in his bedroom and read the book. And so, sometimes when we're going to school and things like that, we might want to take a book out and show our friends, but really, if it's raining or snowy outside, it's better to leave that book in your backpack, in your kit bag. And sometimes we have nice Ziplocs to put the books in to keep them even extra drier. If you have that, keep the book in there until you're in a dry place, until you're inside. And just going to put some lines. This kind of shows that there's a little reflection in the water. And there we go. We have Phil the Frogfish, who takes care of books. Let's take a look at the color version again. So I used a kind of aquamarine blue-green there for Phil, and some purple for his fins and for his lips there, and some yellow for the sandy dry ground part, and some blues for this wet ground, and blues for the rain. But of course you can color Phil the Frogfish any color you like, as long as you remember to keep books dry and take good care of your books. All right, talk to you guys again.